So today's session will be recorded, and as such, to keep client confidentiality and maintain your privacy, all attendees will be on mute for the first hour. After that, we'll stop the recording and have a 30-minute Q&A session. And so that will only be available for those that are attending the session live. During the question, though, if you have any questions, please use the chat feature. We've got Jay Bowden from WLF who will answer your questions, or we'll take them on board and get them answered in the Q&A session at the end. So don't wait for your question, just type it in there straight away so that we can get that in there and answered for you by the end. Some of your questions may be a bit specific though, so you may need to discuss them with your accountant afterwards, but we'll let you know if that's the case. We're aiming to provide the recorded material within a week to attendees and via social media channels. So we have a lot to cover. So rather than cycle back and keep on going either items, we just probably encourage you to watch the recording again if you need to go back over it, or refer to all the Xero material that's online. It's excellent to view. It's great to see a number of our clients online for the session, and obviously you're the brightest out there, being a WLF and client of Xero. I know this is true because my partner's out there attending today. So for those that don't know who I am, I'm Chase McConnon. I'm a director here at WLF and will be the facilitator and WLF presenter throughout today's session. Previous presentations regarding Xero were focused a bit on the Xero software itself and basic features. Today is going to be designed more for those that have got in there, been using it for a year, 2 months, 5 years, but it's going to be a little bit more intermediary. So we hope you've been using it and will find some benefit from the session. This session is probably not going to cover any payroll topics. We're probably going to design a session in June in relation to that in particular. We've just got a few participants that either didn't have payroll, and so we just felt that we'll take that out and then do a specific session before 30 June so we can cover off on STP finalisation, TPAR, super, etc. So keep an eye out for that session for payroll, and this will cover a bunch of the other items that we need to. Just quickly, it's been a big 12-18 months here at WLF internally from a software point of view. 1 July 2019, we changed our tax lodgement system to Xero Tax. 1 March 2020, we moved our practice management system to Xero Practice Manager. And in 1 July 2020, we moved our document management system to FYI Docs. So we continue to roll out new things, and so you've probably seen changes in new look returns, document signing process, removal of the old portal, and more reliance on electronic communications, which will continue into the future, all for our increased security measures and privacy for you, our clients. During this transition, we relied upon Xero a lot, which has been led by our point of contact, Lauren Wood, who's a partner success manager at Xero. So we're very fortunate to have her here today. And so she's going to kick off the training session for us and go through all the greatest stuff at Xero for about 20-25 minutes. So to everyone, I'll just switch over now and give the platform to Lauren.
Alrighty, thank you for that intro. I'll just share my screen and we can get started. Okay, so this is me. I am a partner success manager for Victoria and Tasmania. I look after our top 120 firms, WLF being one of them. So you guys are in very, very good hands. And I have a great job. I love my job, something crazy. So I get to look after the best of the best, and it's a lot of fun. I am also ex-practice, so I worked in an accounting firm as well. And I'm also a very proud daughter of a small business owner as well. So I have been around, I guess, all aspects of business over my lifetime. For those of you on the call using Xero, you'll hopefully know that we're one of the leading cloud platforms globally, but also in Australia, we now are clocking just over 1.2 million businesses on our platform, which is super exciting. I think there's about 2.4 to 2.5 in total. So we're just approaching that halfway mark of businesses moving across to Xero. Our purpose is to make life better for both small businesses, their advisors that they connect to, and communities around the world as well. So you'll see a lot of integrations out to other products. You'll see the ability for your advisor to dial into your product and have a look at how things are playing out. And you'll see a lot of features released each year as well. And today I'm going to take you through top 5 or 6 of those that we've released in the last year that are real game changers. When I first joined Xero, it was very much an East Coast based business. So this is about 4 or 5 years ago. And as we've seen internet pick up and more people able to move to the platform, we've seen a lot of regional businesses be able to take up our software. Certainly in the last, I think, 3 or 4 years of managing Tasmania, so I'm also Melbourne based, managing Tasmania, we've just seen such a huge amount of growth down there for our platform, a lot of people moving across, and now you can interact with other businesses on that platform as well, which is really exciting, especially with new ATO legislation coming. Things like e-invoicing, which allows you to invoice your clients and them invoice you through a secure platform that's hosted by the ATO and by us as well. So our subscribers, this is as of September 20, we grew to almost 3 million subscribers and 180 countries across the globe, which allows people to either open business overseas or interact with businesses that are also overseas as well, which is really exciting. And there's a lot of products being spun up, especially throughout COVID, things that allow you to trade online and trade overseas, which is really exciting. We're no longer restricted to our own backyard. What we're restricted to now is unlimitless, which is really exciting. So let's have a look at some of our new features in action. So the first piece we're going to go through is online invoicing. And this became obviously very primary in the last year, especially with COVID. But in the last few years, we've seen a massive growth of people using our online invoicing. So I'm sure you're familiar, but this is what your clients will see. And if you interact with any other businesses on Xero, this is what you see when you receive an invoice from them. So you can see here that up the top left here, we have the ability to pay via credit, PayPal, and BPay. When we first released online invoicing about 4 years ago, the national average to be paid was about 48 days, which is a lot dependent on people trading usually on 14 and 30-day terms. So that was really, really big and quite alarming as well. And so we were able to pull quite a bit of data to make some suggestions and improvements around how we could help you be paid faster. We also then integrated, sorry, I'm just going to have to I've got people in the waiting room, so I'll just jump back out of here for one moment. Joys of hosting and also watching that waiting room. Let me jump back in. There we go. We also released a bunch of payment gateways as well. So we have the ability for you to hook into things like PayPal, Stripe, Gocardless, as well as Square. A lot of you will be familiar with Square. You've ever gone to a coffee shop and there's that little white box that you tap your card on. That's a full integration into Xero, and that allows you to take payments. We often see a lot of trades and services businesses use this as well. So long gone are the days of going out, say you're a plumber and you go out and do some work and you say that you'll send them an invoice in the next few days. You can now just simply do that from your mobile phone, hand them that little square thing, tap their card on it, and you can accept payment almost immediately. Once we released payment gateways, we actually saw that drop down by about 5 days, that national average. And so we saw that come down to about 40, which was really exciting. What we're now going to see is our payment reminders. And so inside Xero, you can automate the ability to let your clients know when they have an upcoming invoice due with you or if they are overdue. So what you can see here is we're enabling invoice reminders, and we're going to let them know that in a couple of days they have an invoice due with us. And you can completely change all the wording here. So I've seen some really cool quirky ones. Love doing business with you. By the way, you've got an invoice due with us in a couple of days, and your client will get that reminder. And we often see them make payment on the day that they receive the reminder rather than the due date, actually bringing them under your payment terms. You can also send these after the fact. So we see people send them 7, 14, 28 days later, and again, change the wording as it gets longer. We see them get a bit more severe, but a great way to ensure that you are reminding your clients. Sometimes it's just a complete oversight on their part, which is fine. And so we saw this now drop from about 40 days down to the now national average of about 32. When we ran data on last year, we also found that people that had these payment gateways enabled were being paid up to 13 days faster with our online invoice payments. And so what I'm going to take you through now are our invoice payments and some of our payment gateways. So we have the native integration with Xero, which is the one I showed at the start. We also have Gocardless for our direct debit, and we also have Stripe for card payments. So depending on the type of business, if you're somebody that offers a membership type subscription, maybe you're a gym or something like that, you might want to use Gocardless. And if you're somebody that takes credit card payments over the phone or on your EFT machine at the front desk, then maybe you're looking to use something like Stripe. So having a look at Stripe, this is a little bit of a demo as to what this looks like inside the product. So we click on Get Started now when we're in our invoice area, and it will let you know that you can click on either credit card or direct debit. You may not already have an account, so it'll take you through setting up an account with Stripe within Xero as well. Simply just enter in your credentials or register for a new account, and this will connect your Stripe account now to your Xero invoicing. So now every time you issue an invoice, there'll be the ability for them to pay on Stripe, and this can also integrate into any of your online platforms if you're trading online. So if you have an online store as an example, then Stripe will now integrate into that online store as well, which is really exciting. Really easy way for people to take payments from their clients. So here you can see somebody sending out an invoice, and then when the client receives it, they will make their payment through Stripe. So this is from the client's end. And they'll have that big green Pay Now button up the top, and they'll be able to schedule their payment through Stripe, which is allowing them to pay via their credit card. Awesome. Now we'll have a look at Gocardless. So this is our direct debit facility, and it allows for you to have both predictable cash flow, stop chasing your payments, and also automatic reconciliation of those payments inside Xero as well. So hopefully less bookkeeping for you. We've improved our integration with them as well. So it's now a native integration inside the product. So you'll now be able to, similar to Stripe, set this up inside your Xero file as well. Simply get started with them, enter in all your credentials and your information, select bank accounts and so forth that you want the money paid into, and then you'll be able to set up direct debit with your clients, and that will be a feature for them. So if they're looking to pay you direct debit each month, or maybe you're setting up a payment plan with them, they might not have the funds to pay you this month, but maybe they can pay over the next couple, then you can set up direct debit with them, and we'll automatically direct debit their bank account for you each month and post that into your Xero file for you as well. And so as mentioned, we can see that people that do have these payment gateways set up are being paid up to 13 days faster throughout COVID as well. We also have full PayPal integration. So if you're looking to use PayPal, I know any of you that are as avid of an online shopper as I am probably are very familiar with PayPal. And you can also set that up the same way that you would interact with an online store. You'll be able to set that up for your own file as well. Again, simply it's going into your invoice settings. So if you click on your business name up the top left, go to your settings, and then your invoice settings, you'll be able to set up PayPal as well. Awesome. So now moving along from invoicing, we're now going to have a look at creditors and our ability to automatically enter your creditors for you on your behalf for top businesses in Australia, as well as being able to forward in, and we'll take care of the automation of the entering of any other creditors. So about 3 years ago, we purchased a product called HubDoc, and we have a multitude of ways to get data into Xero. And two of these are email to bills and HubDoc. We also do have Xero Connect, and we also have the ability to just manually enter in. I won't be going through these today, but if you do want more information, please let me know. But these are our fastest ways to get data into Xero. Every Xero file comes with its own unique email address in which you can send data into Xero. We also have HubDoc, which allows you to auto fetch for the top 350 companies in the country. So a couple of those brands there you'll probably be familiar with. We've got Optus, PayPal, we've got a couple of banks there. Stripe is there that we just spoke about, Telstra as an example. So what you'll do is set up your credentials with HubDoc, and then every month that an invoice is issued to you, we'll go and fetch it from that provider for you and enter it into the system. So if we have a look at our video here, we can see that we're getting set up with a HubDoc account. So we're going to set up the credentials for Optus. So we have a mobile phone with Optus and also a landline. And what we're wanting to do is set up in HubDoc and in Xero that every time they issue a bill to us, rather than us have to log into our Optus account, download the bill, upload it to Xero and enter in all the data, we're going to do that piece for you. So what you can see here, just in the background of this front screen, is all of those Optus bills flowing into the system. And we're also then reconciling them across to Xero for you. So we're picking up the full invoice or full statement bill from them. And we're also then doing the reconciliation for you as well. So we pick up things like the supplier name, the dates, the due dates, the amount, the GST item, and also where you would like to reconcile it. We also have a full file structure on the left-hand side. So if you're looking for an area to store documents, you're able to use this same system as well. But you'll be able to see all the historical data in the back end there too. So that's for the top 350, and obviously we interact with a lot of other businesses as well. So what you can also do is forward in those invoices. So we have that automatic connection with those top businesses, but you might also shop with another supplier, or maybe you've gone and bought a coffee or something like that, and you're wanting to send that in. So what you can do here is we've received a supplier invoice from one of our suppliers, and we're going to forward that to that email address that I said about earlier for the Xero file. So we send in these couple of invoices to HubDoc, and then what HubDoc's going to do is the full data extraction for them. So we can either auto fetch for those top suppliers, or we forward in for any of those other ones. And then the process starts all over again from here. So you can see these invoices flowing in there. We've got the WeWork and the Carbon one. And we'll be able to pick up as much information as we can. However, with this Carbon one, you can see a little alert sign there, and it's just letting you know that we are missing some information. And so we just need you to enter in some information there. And because we haven't shopped with Carbon before, we're having to just publish it to Xero to let Xero know where we want to allocate this. From that point onwards, every time we shop with them, our system learns that that's where you'd like to allocate it. And so it'll make that suggestion each time. You can now see the bill inside Xero. We've extracted all of this data. We've also attached the file to this bill for you as well. So in a year's time, or whenever it is, if you're having, say, your tax done and your accountants are having a look for supporting documentation, all of it is actually attached to the transaction. Or if you're looking for, when you paid certain bills with a supplier, you can go in there and have a look at these bills as well. Our email to bills, very similar. You email it into our system and we pick up the same sort of data extraction as well. So it's really about choosing what flow works better for you. We also have fields populated. So as mentioned, the vendor name, reference, invoice dates and due dates, as well as amounts and GST. What we found in the first 2 years of using this is that humans, whilst entering great, we did see a level of inaccuracy there, and machine performance will learn from how you code. So we actually saw that it had a greater rate of accuracy. So check out these features. We both have gone through today, HubDoc and email to bills. There's also our Bank Feeds API and our Xero Connect, which I can send more information about if you are interested as well. So now that we've looked at invoicing and bills, we want to look at our cash flow forecasting and business snapshots. This became absolutely imperative throughout 2020 and will certainly be very important this year. What we found is that businesses that were using cloud apps were growing their profit up to 30% faster than those who didn't. So for example, having a payment gateway attached or having something like HubDoc attached, we actually saw this correlation to them growing their business more quickly. We release small business insights every year and every month. So we have a monthly report and then a yearly report as well. And it's worth having a look at this. You can simply just Google Xero Small Business Insights. And this will give you data around what type of businesses that are similar to yours are doing at any point in time. So you can have a look at how businesses are going across the country and compare your data. So I normally, I know you guys are all on mute, so maybe you want to chuck it in the chat, but what percentage of businesses do you think were cash flow positive in the past year? It's quite a surprising number, and it did fluctuate, but on average, we found that only 51% of businesses were cash flow positive in the last year, which was quite alarming. We saw a lot of businesses operating at a negative cash flow and things getting quite tight. And so obviously very thankful and grateful that the government were able to step in with things like JobKeeper and now JobMaker as well. We tried to do our part by releasing data to you around how your cash flow was performing and also business snapshots. And so our short-term cash flow was able to project your bank balance for the next 30 days based on the bills and invoices entered into the system as we just showed, and give you real-time insights as to where you would have peaks and troughs. Our business snapshot also identified any business trends. It allowed you to view your financial metrics and see how your business was performing at that point in time. But this was just the start. So let's have a look at some enhancements to our business snapshot. Our business snapshot is now able to predict your profitability over the next 30 days. So you'll see here, whilst we don't have numbers, we have to grey these out, unfortunately, but you'll see things like entering in expenses. You can select the expenses that you want to see and the effect of those. You can also highlight these expenses. So maybe there's certain expenses in the business that you want to keep track of. We also allowed you to pick custom date ranges to compare to. So you might want to compare this month against the same month last year or this month against last month, and you could select those different date ranges, as well as looking at your P&L and what the fluctuation looked like each year. Obviously for JobKeeper, you needed to show that decrease there. And so this is where our clients were able to source this information. Unfortunately, last year, we found that 80% of businesses that did close their doors were highlighting cash flow as the primary reason, which was obviously very devastating. And what we hoped to do was provide them more information and data around how they could improve it. So looking at the short-term cash flow tool, here you'll be able to project your bank balances, and you can choose per bank account, or you can choose all of them for your cash position over the next year. What you can see here is you can make projections based on sales invoices and bills that are entered into the system, as well as any other payments that are upcoming, things such as payroll or BAS payments as an example. You can also do scenarios. So what if I was to contribute X amount into super, or what if I was to pay a bill early? What would be the effect on my cash flow down the track? We'll now head into mobile. So what we found from some of our trends was that in 2017, mobile devices accounted for almost 30% of the time spent consuming media. So when I was in school or over the last 10, 15 years, I found that I would always consume internet media over my computer. So I'd come home from school or I'd come home from work and I would have a look at, news and things like that over my computer. But now we have these mobile devices basically glued to our hands at all time. And we found that 30% of our time spent consuming internet media is from a mobile. And so I mentioned earlier that we have 2.3 million businesses on the platform. There's 250,000 of these that are purely running their business from mobile only, which means they don't actually log into our desktop product. And this is as of 2018, so I'm sure it's a lot higher now, but we are actually seeing a lot more people move to mobile solely to run their business. So we've had to have a huge focus on mobile, and we've released a bunch of apps that will assist you in running your business this way. We have the Xero app, the Xero Expenses app, the Xero Projects app, and Xero Me for payroll. So I'll take you through what some of the enhancements have been. So for our bills area, you can view unpaid drafts submitted and bill attachments, such as the ones from HubDoc earlier, record bill payments, so if you've made a payment, and as well as add and edit bills, which has just been released. We also have sales improvements, so the ability to copy those invoices and quotes, manage your contacts, print them as well if you've got AirPrint, preview them, convert quotes to invoices, and share invoices with other apps. So if you're wanting to push an invoice into another app on your phone as an example. We then recently released the ability to see your profit at a glance. And so you can see this month, quarter, or year to date, how you're tracking along from the mobile app. So I'll now take you through Xero Projects and our mobile apps for this. So Xero Projects is predominantly used by service-based businesses. It's a job costing module within Xero. And I'll also take you through Xero Expenses. So having a look at Xero Projects, it's a simple way to complete profitable jobs. And so you can see from the screen grabs here that it's a full job management system. It allows you to look at things like invoices and costs on the job, as well as creating quotes and invoices to be able to bill time on the job that your staff have put down to it as well. So we go from quote right through to completion. You can see some of the feature sets there, and I'm going to take you through these now. But firstly, who's projects for? So predominantly we see this used in both service-based businesses, so maybe IT as an example, trade and construction, and also professional services. So potentially like chiropractors and things like that as well. We see move into this space of those sort of costs. So we do see a lot of different sort of businesses, either, tradies, or we see medical, predominantly using this, as well as say marketing companies too. So really diverse and worth checking out. The common pain points that we have for people that aren't currently job tracking is things like inaccuracy, a lack of insight, and an inefficient workflow. So they're not able to see which jobs are profitable and which aren't. So having a look at some of the key features, and I'm going to take you through these in a moment, is that we have flexible user permissions, a dedicated mobile app. We can do time-based entries, and it's a full integration with Xero, as well as having profitability over the jobs. So having a look at these user permissions, we allow limited, standard, and admin permissions, and this will allow you to do different things, whether you're just simply entering time, or maybe you're wanting to do approvals. We have a dedicated mobile app. This is awesome for the employees. They're able to submit their timesheets and expenses whilst they go. And we can also do location-based tracking for them to record time. So we are supported by Google Maps. And so you can see here suggestions of what their timesheets should look like. So we automate their timesheets based on where they've been. So you can see someone here has been hanging out at Xero for a couple of hours there doing some renovations, then went to Bunnings, and then they're back at Xero. So we're suggesting what their timesheets should look like. Full sync with Xero as well. So this will flow back into your full invoicing module, and you're able to use things like those payment gateways we spoke about earlier. We have a profitability dashboard, which a lot of people don't have oversight of what jobs are profitable and which aren't. And so this takes up all the costs and the expenses and timesheets against your job as well. So if you potentially went and bought, say you're in trades and you went and bought some stuff from Bunnings that you want to on charge to the client, as well as your timesheet, you can then enter all of that, do your invoice, have a look at the profit on the job. So our pricing starts at $10 base fee with a $7 additional active user fee on top as well. So key takeaways, definitely have a look at this. This is in our trial versions and in our demo companies as well, if you want to have a little bit of a play around. The guys will send you further information around it as well as part of our follow-up. But if you do have questions, definitely hang on the line at the end and we can help answer. We also have Xero Expenses, and this is for any businesses that either provide their staff with company credit cards, or they have their staff spending money that they need to be reimbursed for. So some of the key things around businesses that are missing the expense module is that they have hidden costs a lot of the time, where staff are spending money that they don't realize, and their workflows are quite messy. So this is what we're hoping to resolve. So this is effortless expense management, what it looks like in terms of product. Sorry, just had an issue with that screen moving then. So who's it for? So anybody that needs to reimburse their employees, they issue credit cards and they need to track mileage and efficiencies. So some of the key features that we'll go through are around our automated receipt analysis, tracking mileage, as well as simple submissions and approvals. So having a look at our mileage claims, we can see that somebody drove from what looks like maybe Hawthorne area out to Melbourne Airport. You can see the map there, and it will automatically create a mileage claim for them based on that. It has the ATO rate or a rate that you've agreed upon entered in automatically, and they just have to put some commentary in and then submit that through to you for approval. We also have non-reimbursable expenses. So these are expenses that have been paid with company money or personal money and not to be reimbursed. And this helps you manage things like company credit cards, petty cash, and spend money transactions. So we'll take a look. These videos play at the same time, so both mobile and desktop version as to what this looks like. So you've got a receipt here for Coles Supermarket. We take a photo of it, upload that to Xero, and then you can see here that the information is automatically filled out for you as much as we can. So as much as we can extract from it, you can then go through and approve, make payments. So we've seen that Jules there has payments that she's owed of about $250. So we're going to go through, review those bills, approve them, and then send them over to her for payment. And pricing for this looks at $5 per user per month as well. We're just going to wrap up this session on security. So a lot of your businesses and a lot of parts of your business are obviously already online. And so it's really primed to be conscious of what security looks like with online platforms, whether it's your online banking, whether it's Xero, or whether it's your social media as an example. We do see more people moving online and moving more parts of their lives online. It's really good to be conscious of how this looks. So small businesses have been a growing target for cyber attacks, and especially over the last year as more of them have moved online. And we've seen email as the primary attack channel. So we have an example here. This definitely looks like an invoice from a client that is using Xero. It has the view invoice button there, and it's got all the information on it, and it even has their name. However, if we hover over who it is from, you'll see the extension there at xeromobile.net, and that's not an extension of Xero. So all of ours are at xero.com, and so we know that this is coming from somewhere a bit suspicious. So always, if you're unsure, hover over and have a look at the extensions that it's coming from. Also hover over the where it says view invoice and have a look at where that's heading to. Often it's not heading to where you would like it to. Another thing we also recommend is having a look at haveibeenpwned.com. And this is super interesting. You pop your email address in here and it'll let you know all of the products that you've signed up to where they potentially have had a data breach or data has been leaked from their system. So we actually saw one I find quite funny is if you had a Domino's account last year, there were 650,000 Domino's accounts that had people's email address and passwords leaked out of them. So if you're using the same password for Domino's as you are for your internet banking, that could be a bit of a worry there. So definitely go and check this out. It's super interesting, and you can also sign up to alerts. So anytime your email is ever mentioned in a data breach that's reported by a company, you'll be able to see where that is. You'll get an alert, and then you'll be able to go through things like updating your password and updating two-factor authentication. So when we look at reducing the risks, things that we do here at Xero, we do login activity monitoring, which I think is really, really important. So today, if you log in from Hobart, as an example, and in an hour's time, you log in from England, we assume that you didn't get there that quickly. And so what we do is we lock down your account, and you'll get an email to your email address letting you know that your account has now been locked. That you're logging in from a random location that we don't believe that you're at, and we'll take you through our sign-in wizard to re-secure your account again. The second thing we do is we force two-step authentication. This is because not only is your data inside your Xero file, but also your employees' personal details, your invoice, your customers' personal details, as well as supplier details. So we do force two-step authentication over the top. And just this month, we released Xero Verify. So this will allow push notifications to your mobile phone that you'll simply click agree to. This is mandated now, so all Xero files should have this across their Xero file. And this has actually been mandated by government and by the ATO as well. So you'll actually see more online products having to move to SA over the next couple of months leading into June. So our number one priority is obviously keeping your data safe, and it absolutely should be yours too. So we are now at the end of my session. I hope, I can't see any of the chat at the moment, but I hope that there's lots of questions in the chat for me to jump back in about half an hour's time. But in the meantime, I will hand over back to Chase, and just wanted to call for dialing in, as well as the guys at WLF for hosting me today as well. So it's been a whole heap of fun. I'll just transfer this over to Chase now. I just got to find him somewhere in the chat, wherever he is. There he is. So I'll make him host now. Thank you, everyone. And I'll hang on the line for the end of the session.
Thanks, Lauren. So now we'll just go into hopefully my screen sharing's there now. So we're just going to go into a few of the other features that we had. A reminder again to use the chat. So Jay's here, hands on the keyboard, ready, waiting. So if you need any questions, then ask away. So one of the things that we notice, I suppose, from our clients and some of the files that we get coming in is that there's a little bit of using all the features and probably not just using one or two that really work. So when you're using the Xero file, we find it really important that obviously the bank is reconciled, but that you do that once you've actually done either your invoicing or your purchases. So if you're using Xero for invoices, then you enter all the invoices through Xero, and then you can come and use your matching in the bank recs in the receive section. If you're using purchases in Xero for document storage, and you continue to use that and use features like HubDoc or email to bills, that you do all of that process first before you come in and then allocate your spend transactions. So we find that if you're not using either of those, so you've got your separate own document management system, or you're invoicing out through another app, or you're using like a point of sale software like a Square, then you can use a really nifty sort of features like cash coding. So cash coding is a feature where you're not using part of the invoicing or purchase module really in Xero or other ones that you may use. And so in here, you can really easily apply a whole bunch of transactions at once. So if I was to select some of all these central parkings, I could then actually allocate all of these to some kind of motor vehicle expense account, and it would do that for all of those accounts, and I could save and reconcile simply like that. So it's a lot quicker. Similarly with income, I could nominate a few of those that are income items and that I need to process to sales, GST on income, and simply save and reconcile. So when you're not using the invoicing or the purchasing modules, we find that the cash coding is fantastically easy to go and reconcile the account. However, again, if you're going to use Xero invoicing, we recommend that you do that first so that Xero has the ability to match the invoice like it has here, or match a payment like that, depending on which one you're using. Again, with Xero, this Smart Agency one has 2 invoices paid on the one. So just a reminder that you have the ability to select multiple bills that are sitting in your purchases system to match it to one bank payment. So you have the ability to do that. There's obviously always the AI. You'll see this notice coming up that the more and more that you process spend money features or receive money features, that these things will come up. Now, again, they're going to probably be, if you're using or they're coming up for direct debits primarily, or automatic fees that do come out, you'll probably find the fact that you'll use the spend or receive money under this create tab a lot less when you've already entered all of your bills into the purchases module. But for this direct debit, that will come up there, or you may even have a rule for something that comes through where you don't have the receipt yet. And so you can hit OK there. What I will recommend in a lot of these is that you will have, sorry, bear with me, I'm just going to move there we are. I just need to move the controls for my Zoom, which is in front of my tab. You will find that occasionally when you have the bills here, that we've got 2 here that if you were to use this feature and pay this bill from the bank account here and add payment, some people like to use that, and so it'll come in here, but we'll find that that's a step that is just additional, not necessary, because the bill was already matched anyway. So it's still stayed as green, and so you've just added an extra step. So that Cooper Street Bakery bill that was come through is being matched because it knows the value and it knows the supplier. So it's matching on those things as well as the date. And so you don't need to go into the invoice to match to allocate the payment to the bank. You can simply just do it from here as long as the purchase is already in the system. So that's a few things sort of to go through on some of the banking. Again, each to your own about how you do it and what you're using it for. But if you're using the purchase module, we again recommend that you enter them all in first, and then your banking reconciliations will be made a lot easier. Now go into some other things in relation to when you may have a bank account that seemingly is reconciled, and you go into a reconciliation report, which should be run at the end of every month, or when you get a new statement, or particularly when you're at the end of a GST reporting period, and you come in here and match, and you've actually found that you've got a difference. So in this scenario, we've got a payment that's sitting here that is expected on the 10th of March. Now our bank statements come through with feeds, and it hasn't noticed that payment being there. So what you want to do is find that client. So we can go search by our customers here. You can also use a global search as well if you want to search for the customer in Xero that way. And so we're looking for Gateway Motors. Yes, which apparently isn't in there as a contact, so that's a good test. But anyway, we might have a look into this actual report, and we'll find that this is the invoice here. And so we can go through and see that there's been a payment allocated for, but obviously it's not coming through. If we check our other bank accounts, it might be often that some things might have been missed in there. And so we can have a look in here and actually see the payment here. So if you were to go and create that invoice, you would actually be entering it into the system twice. So it appears that when someone's allocated a payment here, they've allocated it to the wrong account, and so it's been made in error. So you'll need to remove and redo that transaction so that that payment is gone, so that now it comes out as unpaid. So now if we were into our bank reconciliation, that has come up now as something to match. And so now our other bank account will be reconciled, and it'll be good to go. Some other things that you may find when you're going through and things that can help when you've got some issues in reconciling, or you've got different transactions we see a lot of people doing, is that you may have an expense, let's say this one here, MCO cleaning, is actually a payment that is private. So you may want to have that payment go to a drawings account rather than necessarily to an account that's in there. So obviously we try and match them straight to drawings, to the owner's drawings account, and you can do that through there. Or if you have a bill that's gone straight in there, you can actually mark it as being paid. So if we were to have a look at our purchases overview, we can have a look at some that are awaiting payment. And so we've got this cleaning services bill here. And so we can use this one here to mark that as being paid from a different bank account. And so we do have owner's drawings in there. And so we may want to use that for that when we're not dealing with an account that is a bank account. So it's critical that you're really only using this feature down here if you've done your purchases and your invoices for accounts that are not the bank accounts, whilst they're going to show up there. It's just a way of managing your purchasing expenses together and not coming up with errors in your bank reconciliations. Can be used for bad debts as well. So if you have an outstanding invoice that we can often see that if you go into the chart of accounts and you have an account like bad debts, that you can enable payments to the account here and save that. And so when you do have a bad debt from your invoices, that you can allocate one that you know you're not going to get received for. So we might have Boom FM that is actually marking that they're not going to pay us. So we want to mark that off as a bad debt. We can now clear that as a bad debt by making that payment to there. So that's a good way of removing when you're managing your invoices through Xero, through the modules here, to clear them off as bad debts. Some other things that we do, and this is a feature that is really seen from advisors only, but some of you out there are probably going to be advisors. It's motor vehicle expenses or any other account that you might see, but you might be like, well, we don't run a car, so how is there any expenses in there? So you may want to move them. Or you go in here and you see that the GST reconciliation is not quite correct. So we've got a few in here from before, but we might say that all those central parking ones shouldn't have had GST allocated to it. What we like to use is a feature called Find and Recode, because rather than going back through, especially for those that use batch payments, you will find that if you unreconcile a transaction, that it's very hard to do. For instance, if I go into, sorry, the wrong one, if I go into the payable invoice, particularly, but when I go to edit this, I can only change the account and the region. I can't change my GST. So if I want to change the GST, I'd have to unallocate the payment on this and then redo it. However, if I go into my Find and Recode feature, I can add an addition to have a look at the account 449, being my motor vehicle expenses, and search for those transactions that are on there that have come through. Now I've got this transaction here that I want to change the GST on. So I can change the GST on that to a GST-free expense. I can also change the region or any other tracking category that I may have available on that. I can change the account. I can also change the contact of where that is. Once I process that, it will then change that transaction to be GST-free expenses. And so you can also use this feature for a multitude of activities. So again, if I was to go and select that account, that 449 account, and I had conditions, include the bank account, the date, who they're entered by, your tracking category, this type of region. So I might want to look at all these central parking options and say that they shouldn't have been in motor vehicle expenses. I wanted them to go to a different account. I could then go and process them to a different account, just like that. And so it saves you having to go back into each particular transaction or go and count them all up to make a manual journal. This Find and Recode feature can really change your allocations in a nice, quick and easy to use format. Some of you will see that the profit and loss that comes through from Xero, you may want to make changes to it. This is one thing that's come through lately, is that we try and use the new formats from Xero, and you do have the ability to edit layouts down here, as well as obviously all your options here and filtering options that you have with tracking categories, as well as adding things. But the edit layout feature is a really good one to customize your reports. So you may want to have March here, but you may also want to add a year to date. So up here, you've got a columns, a rows feature if you wanted to group a new set of accounts together. But let's say we wanted to add a year to date one. So that's a date type approach. You can also use budgets, formulas, and other items as well, which we'll go through. And you can select here to change that to a financial year to date. And so that will then now allow you, if you were to hit done with that, or you can add in a formula. So I could add in a formula to say that I want the year to date minus my month. And so that is the previous month year to date. If you wanted that, then you could simply have that. If you also wanted your region, so this one's set as tracking categories of region, you could put in the March for your different regions. You could also select South and West Coast to be in one particular region. And so you can customize your reports very easily with that particular link. Ask your WLF accountant if you need any more instructions on how to do that, but that's a way that you can get your report to looking a lot more convenient. Now, when you make these changes, you obviously want to keep them so you can use them the next time around. And we recommend that you use and save this as a custom report. And so you can use the custom report for management reasons, better spelling. So you can have that as now your management report. Now you can find that again going forward. If you go into your reports section, you'll find this as a custom report here that we have a profit and loss management report now. Now going through these, if you were to hit that as a star and then unselect this other profit and loss, when you now go into the accounting heading there, you've now got the bank accounts reports being here and advance being this section, but that report now comes in as a shortcut for you to select there. So if you're able to hit the favorites button, you'll get different reports showing up here. And so then you'll be able to run that profit and loss report and it would come up in the same headings and format that you had customized prior. So a really good way for you to get in there and change the reports to how you wish to view them and what works best for you and your organizations and others that you may need to report to. Also, obviously recommend as you're going through that at each reporting period of time that you look at locking the period off. So in the financial settings, again, this will be for some advisors, but that you look here at simply changing the date that the report's locked to. So we may want to stop that one at the 31st of December 2020 because that was our last fast date. So if we do that, then we'll simply have kept that off for all other users. So for standard users and below that may only be doing purchases, entering purchases or sales and the like, that they can then only enter them from 1 January onwards because that's where we've locked our reporting for. So you prevent any accidental entries going in the prior period. You can simply go back and adjust that date as much and easy as you'd like, as long as you have permission in this area. So we recommend that that you continue to do that so that you prevent anything going wrong in terms of entries into prior periods. In terms of Xero itself, we still recommend that you use the help feature and that you go and go to Xero search and you use the help articles that Xero have. So if you have anything on invoicing, then you can go here and it will take you straight to some great articles in Xero Central to help you out. So they will have all the things that you need, including potentially some videos if you need it. And so it's an easy way to get to know where you're at in the help feature. Anyway, that's really good. So I only got a couple of minutes to go. I was going to squeeze in a couple more items before we get there. The other thing that we really wanted to cover off on was the app advisory. And so with Xero itself is that it has the modules here, but if you're ever finding that you need a little bit more functionality or you're after something that's just simply a bit more powerful, to remind you to go to the apps. So go to the app marketplace, which is just here, and check out what apps that can benefit you. So there is several hundred apps. Laura might tell you the latest, but I think it was up to over 800 or 900 apps. They're all grouped either by functions or you can go by industry to find the one that suits you. These are really powerful add-ons to your file. So if you're finding that something isn't quite what you would like out of the file, we recommend that you have a look here in the apps marketplace, as well as talking to us to find the thing that can work for you, whether that be invoicing, inventory management, potential approval mats, which we find with a lot of our clients, so that you have that stage between purchases so that you can have someone drafting it and submit for approval and then approve for payment. We find a lot of people using using that. Service Mate is a really good one for those tradies to go again with that project sort of management, but it takes it a step further. Payroll, we find a lot of those that have high reliance on payroll may outsource that to a more specific provider. So that's the beauty of Xero, is that when you may want a more personalized application or ability to do a service, is that there are several hundred add-ons that are available for you to go and check out and use to help your accounting experience a lot better. So that's a little bit it for today in terms of where we're at with our session. So what I'll just cancel this sharing. Bear with me. Find where I'm at. So that's it really for today. In summary, I suppose Lauren was really helpful with our online payments and the payment gateways that we've got. The ability of HubDoc, again, that's one of these sort of add-on providers that now integrate with Xero for auto bill fetching, emails to bills, have the cash flow forecasts and business snapshots, the ability of mobile devices now, and how much reliance you can, or how much work you can do on your mobile device. The projects and expenses modules, including mileage claims, multi-factor authentication. So there was a lot there from Lauren that she covered, which is fantastic. Today, in terms of what we covered, was a lot of trying to cover off cash coding versus the document storage and using the purchases or invoicing modules. The use of enabling payments to loan accounts, drawings or bad debts, find and recode feature, the reporting, customization reporting and saving that, locking periods, and then going through our app advisories and the help features. Obviously, if you need anything further, then please contact any of your WLF accountants who will help them. They'll probably know more than me, but they're just a little bit shy today, which is why I'm presenting. As we discussed, this session hasn't covered payroll. We've covered a lot of other things, but keep an eye on an invite that will come prior to 30th of June 2021 so that you can be ready for your reporting period. Thank you to Jay that's been on the chat today, Lauren again for coming down, Trent, our IT manager, who's been working in the background trying to get this going. And thank you very much for the session. Comms will be coming out your way about the recording, but please stay online for those that are here as we will get going with some Q&A. So thank you very much, everyone.